Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we take your sources and, well, we really dig in to find those important nuggets of knowledge and insight. We're basically here to give you a shortcut to being well-informed, maybe with some surprising facts, and just enough humor, hopefully, to keep you hooked. Today, we're embarking on a truly fascinating deep dive. We're looking at material from the Velocidade do Amor YouTube channel. And these sources, they present this really compelling narrative about impending mass contact, this big cosmic event they call the solar flash, and also a pretty profound reevaluation of the human ego, all presented as like essential prerequisites for a new era. Okay, so let's unpack this. This deep dive is going to take us to some truly, mind-bending places, exploring not just what it might take for a new cosmic era to dawn, but really critically, what role we as individuals might play in that grand transformation. It's this vision that directly links the vastness of the cosmos to the most intimate aspects of our inner lives.
It is, yeah. It's a fascinating framework because it consistently weaves together these seemingly huge external shifts with deep internal understanding and acceptance. The sources lay out a very specific kind of roadmap, if you will, suggesting that the readiness for this universal change is, well, inextricably linked to profound personal evolution. It implies that humanity has a very active role, not just passive in this unfolding future.
That's a powerful way to put it, an active role. And diving right into the heart of the Velocidade do Amor channel's message, it sets a truly dramatic stage, doesn't it? The big premise seems to be that humanity is currently paralyzed by the illusion of separation and fear. That's the quote. It says that despite so many signs, so many alerts, so many calls, we're struggling, really struggling to liberate ourselves from this state. What does this paralysis actually look like in their view?
Well, yeah, and the source doesn't just present this poetically. It depicts us as a species stuck in a really deeply ingrained pattern, internal and external conflict. This illusion of separation, it manifests as, well, everything from tribalism, nationalism, all those divides, right down to interpersonal misunderstandings and even a profound disconnect from our own inner spiritual source. That's key. It's this state where we perceive ourselves as fundamentally distinct, separate, and often, in opposition to others, to nature, even to higher consciousness. So this paralysis, it isn't just about inaction. It's about a deeply ingrained inability to move beyond these divisive patterns. Even though, as the source says, there are so many signs, maybe UFO sightings, intuitive awakenings, global events that kind of challenge our current ways of thinking. These are presented as clear invitations for humanity to evolve, but we seem to remain pretty stubbornly entrenched.
Right, so this state of self-imposed paralysis is actually the reason for an impending intervention. That's a crucial twist, isn't it? It's not just, external forces deciding to show up. Our own inability to liberate ourselves is painted as the very trigger for this cosmic help.
Precisely. The source presents this as a critical juncture, a real impasse. Humanity has reached a point where external assistance becomes not just desirable, but from their perspective, almost a perceived necessity, directly because of this internal struggle. But here's where we get one of those first key insights, The message warns that this intervention will only fully manifest if the awakened know how to act in this decisive moment. So it's not a passive waiting game, not some cosmic rescue mission where we just, sit back and watch the show. It explicitly implies an active, responsible role for those who are already aware, already tuned in to these unfolding cosmic shifts. It really puts the onus squarely on them, on the awakened, to help facilitate the larger planetary shift.
That's fascinating. It kind of flips the usual narrative of waiting to be saved, doesn't it? It's more like a call to action for a specific group within humanity. And the video itself, it's framed as revealing these hidden truths about this solar flash and extraterrestrial contact, promising insights that, according to the narrator, only really click if you stick with it right to the end. Definitely sets up a sense of mystery and profound revelation, tying into this grand story of an unfolding cosmic event.
And central to this whole narrative is the channeled message itself. It apparently comes from an entity identified as Commander Ashtar Sheran, often just called Ashtar. He presents himself as a direct representative of these star brothers and galactic families. And what's really notable is the tone he conveys a message of reverential peace. That's the phrase used, which immediately sets it apart from, a lot of pop culture depictions of alien contact. It's not about conquest or even just a scientific exchange. It's framed as communication rooted in deep respect and a desire for harmony. From their side, it's in just a relationship of mutual reverence, not dominance or submission.
Reverential peace. That's striking. And what's truly striking is Ashtar's main declaration, right? It emphasizes the sheer scale of readiness. All commands, all star brothers, all terrestrial alliance are apparently prepared for the great moment of our massive contact. This isn't just, one little scout ship popping in. It's presented as a significant, collective, coordinated readiness from a huge, organized cosmic presence. What about that phrase, terrestrial alliance? What does that imply here? Is this like a secret group on Earth already working with them?
Yeah, that phrase, terrestrial alliance, is pretty intriguing, isn't it? Within this framework, it strongly implies that there are already factions or individuals right here on Earth. Maybe governments, maybe spiritual groups, maybe even covert organizations who are not only aware of these galactic entities, but are actively collaborating with them, preparing for this great moment. It suggests a pre-existing relationship, an established connection, and some level of cooperation between certain human elements and these star brothers. So it wouldn't be a completely alien intervention if you follow. It's presented more as a coordinated effort, where parts of humanity are already integral to the plan. It definitely speaks to a hidden history of contact and a complex, multi-layered preparation process happening behind the scenes. That's a really key detail. Suggests Earth isn't just waiting passively, there's internal readiness too. And the source explicitly names the key, the catalyst for this mass contact. It's this specific cosmic event, the solar flash. This isn't just symbolic, is it? It's described as having immediate, profound impacts, both physically and on consciousness.
Indeed. Yeah, this is where the narrative moves from abstract ideas to a very specific mechanism. The solar flash is portrayed as the ultimate key, the unlock code. And what's truly fascinating here, and a critical insight from the source, is how this external, huge event, the solar flash, is presented as intrinsically linked to an internal, fundamental shift in human perception. It's not just about seeing them, ships in the sky. It's about fundamentally shifting how we see ourselves and the universe. The source says its immediate impact will be that these veils will be removed. And a major consequence is that the consciousness of all Christic humanity will open. That's a huge claim, implying a direct, almost energetic intervention into human awareness itself.
Okay, so this solar flash, it's not just a bright light, not just a spectacle. It sounds more like a cosmic switch that literally flips consciousness.
Yeah.
But how does the source explain the mechanics of that? How does a flash of light remove veils or open up Christic consciousness? What even are these veils in this context? Are they literal, metaphorical?
That's the million-dollar question, right? And the source offers, well, an implied metaphysical explanation. Think of these veils not just as metaphors like curtains, but as energetic blockages, or maybe deeply ingrained limiting belief systems that keep us locked in that state of separation. In the Velocidade do Amor narrative, these veils are often linked directly back to that illusion of separation and fear we talked about. They represent the mental, the emotional filters that stop humanity from perceiving higher truths or other dimensions of reality. The solar flash in this framework isn't just light, it's described as a high-frequency energetic pulse, like a cosmic shock wave of energy. It's described as acting like a cosmic defibrillator for our collective awareness, directly stimulating higher neural pathways or energy centers, maybe chakras, within every human. This intense energetic infusion is said to literally dissolve these blockages, allowing for an immediate, widespread expansion of consciousness.
Wow, okay. A cosmic defibrillator. And what about Christic humanity? That term could land differently for different people, couldn't it? How does Velocidade do Amor seem to define or interpret Christic humanity here? Is it religious?
That's a really crucial point for clarity, yeah. The source uses Christic humanity not to reference a specific religion or doctrine, like Christianity per se, but rather it seems to denote a universal awakened state of being, a potential within everyone. In this narrative, Christic refers to a consciousness rooted in things like unconditional love, compassion, unity, and recognizing the inherent divinity within all beings. Your inner light, perhaps? It aligns with what many other spiritual traditions might call higher consciousness or divine awareness or just simply heart-centered consciousness. So the solar flash isn't just about a general wake-up call. It's specifically about activating this profound, inherent, universally loving aspect within everyone on the planet. And this opening of consciousness, this shift to a Christic state, is explicitly presented as a necessary step. It's needed for humanity to then reach an agreement regarding the intervention, regarding mass contact. It implies that humanity right now in our current state of veiled consciousness simply isn't ready or maybe even capable of making such a huge agreement. But the flash changes that, allowing for genuine consent.
Okay, that makes sense. So currently, the source acknowledges that even though there are still so many beings who do not see us with good eyes or do not believe in us, they feel that we are a threat to them. Oh,
That's a critical point of friction, right?
Yeah.
Our current human perception is largely rooted in fear or disbelief, maybe fueled by decades of movies and media.
Precisely. And this is where the solar flash becomes the ultimate game changer in this narrative. It really is. It's presented as the definitive catalyst that will just dissolve these negative perceptions. The source isn't suggesting like a slow, gradual process of convincing everyone or years of enlightenment programs. No. Instead, it posits a sudden cosmic intervention that will, in effect, override or eliminate the existing disbelief, the fear, even the hostility towards extraterrestrial life. The implication is profound. This event will enable a collective shift, not fragmented or fearful, towards accepting contact. It's about bypassing humanity's current limitations, our current baggage, you could say, and allowing for a broad, immediate acceptance that just wouldn't be possible under present conditions. It's like a direct, almost surgical strike at the root of collective human fear and skepticism.
A surgical strike at fear. Wow, okay. Moving into the conditions for this contact, the source really hammers home a significant point about free will. It emphasizes profound respect for free will as a foundational principle. This isn't like a unilateral decision by the galactic families to just show up and take over.
Yeah, this is presented as a critical ethical cornerstone in their communication, and it's definitely a point worth exploring. The galactic families, as they're called, cannot simply intervene and impose their presence or their help. It's not allowed, basically. The source states it explicitly requires humanity to reach an agreement, especially the beings of light, to request the intervention of their star brothers. So that establishes a crucial condition. Mass contact is not an imposition. It's framed as a response to a collective, informed invitation, which immediately raises a very important question, one the source kind of implicitly addresses. If free will is truly paramount, how does the solar flash, which seems like an external, maybe even non-consensual event from our current perspective, how does that fit with the need for humanity's consent? The source suggests the flash actually enables truly informed consent by removing the very veils of separation and fear that currently prevent humanity from making a clear, unencumbered choice. The idea is, without the flash, our choices might be based on ignorance or fear, so they wouldn't be truly free choices anyway. The flash, in this view, liberates our will so we can make a conscious, collective decision from a place of clarity.
Okay. So, in a way, the solar flash isn't taking away free will, but maybe clearing the path for true free will to actually operate. That's interesting. And within this framework of consent, the source highlights the crucial role of these beings of light. These aren't just any humans. They're identified as individuals already incarnated on Earth who internally already desire contact. They're described as already knowing about these galactic entities and recognizing that their assistance, our help, is important to complete the process. What is this process they're helping to complete? Is it just the contact itself?
It seems to be more than just the contact. The beings of light are presented as this vital vanguard, like the leading edge of human consciousness. The source depicts them not just as passive recipients of info, but as active co-creators in this whole thing. They are the ones who have, supposedly through their own spiritual work, already transcended a lot of that illusion of separation and fear. And so their internal yes, their desire for contact, resonates strongly with the frequency of these galactic families. The process they're helping to complete, as implied by the source, seems to be the entire planetary transition itself. The shift from the old reality of separation and conflict to the new reality of integration and heart-centered consciousness, which culminates in what they call the new Earth. So their internal readiness and desire aren't just personal feelings. They are presented as a vital, energetic component of the collective consent needed for mass contact. Their awakened state essentially creates an energetic beacon, you could say, signaling Earth's readiness for the next phase of its evolution.
An energetic beacon, I like that. It paints a powerful picture of this inner vibrational readiness being key. What's also fascinating is the immediate transformative aftermath they describe for the solar flash. The source states that as soon as the solar flash occurs, it will lead to negative forces finally leaving the planet. Quote, that implies a really profound clearing or cleansing. Who are these negative forces, and how does this departure actually happen? Is it like a battle?
This is where the narrative brings in a significant element of cosmic house cleaning, you could call it. These negative forces, as the source describes them, aren't necessarily physical beings in ships or anything like that. It seems to refer more to energetic imprints, lower vibrational entities, or maybe even collective thought forms of fear, greed, and separation that have built up on Earth over millennia. Think of them as a kind of dense, energetic smog or residue that has kept humanity kind of bound to the old reality. The solar flash, being this high-frequency energetic pulse, is set to create an environment that is simply incompatible with these lower vibrations. So it's not portrayed as a battle or a forceful expulsion in the traditional sense. It's more about vibrational incompatibility. These negative forces simply cannot exist or thrive in the elevated energetic field created by the flash, and so they leave, maybe they dissolve or transmute, or are just rendered powerless within that new frequency.
So less about a fight, more about a frequency shift that naturally clears the space, like turning on a bright light that makes shadows disappear. And this departure of negative forces is presented as creating the perfect conditions for humanity to finally give this internal consent for our contact.
Exactly. The source notes that even now, many implicitly desire contact deep down. The flash, by clearing the energetic environment and opening up collective consciousness, aligns this deep-seated internal desire with cleared external conditions, making explicit conscious consent possible for the first time on a mass scale. It's about removing all the obstacles, external and internal, ensuring that humanity's invitation, when it comes, is truly from a place of clarity, not coercion or residual fear. Only then, with the planet energetically cleansed and humanity consciously awakened, can the real cooperation supposedly begin.
Okay, and once those conditions are right and consent is given, the galactic entities make this profound promise. Direct assistance in building the new Earth. They state, "We will be there with our ships in direct contact, directly assisting you in the construction of the new Earth." Now that sounds like more than just a flyby or some spiritual blessing. It signifies a cooperative, hands-on, maybe even technological effort. What might direct assistance in the construction of the new Earth actually look like from their perspective? Any hints?
Yeah, that phrase, direct assistance in the construction of the new Earth, is incredibly evocative, isn't it? It does suggest more than just spiritual guidance. While the source doesn't give super granular details like blueprints or anything, it implies a collaborative effort across multiple dimensions. This could range from sharing advanced technologies, maybe for sustainable living, clean energy generation, ecological restoration, basically solutions to many of our current huge planetary challenges. It could also mean providing direct wisdom on new societal structures, governance models, maybe even guiding aspects of our ongoing spiritual evolution. It's a vision of a truly unified effort, where the Star Brothers bring their expertise and presumably their advanced understanding to help humanity literally rebuild its planet and its civilization, fostering a more harmonious and, well, advanced existence. The commitment seems absolute. All of us will be there, all of us will unite, underscoring this unified front between humanity and its Star Brothers. They also emphasize that the galactic families are continuously monitoring all of you, which indicates ongoing observation and preparation, like they're waiting for the exact right moment, almost like a cosmic oversight committee keeping tabs.
Constant monitoring, that's a key detail, suggests they're not just passively waiting, but actively engaged in the whole lead-up. And just to clarify for us, the source explicitly distinguishes between past interactions and this future mass contact, right? It says support has always been provided, according to the planetary hierarchy, implying this long-standing structured relationship, but it's been largely, behind the scenes.
That's a really important distinction for the listener to grasp, yeah. The source confirms that benevolent extraterrestrial assistance isn't presented as something new. It has always been provided, apparently, but under very strict protocols governed by what they call the planetary hierarchy, or maybe cosmic laws of non-interference, universal prime directive, maybe? Past interactions, as the source clarifies, involves occasional direct contact with governors, with leaders, with beings. High-level stuff. But these were explicitly not mass contact. These limited, high-level interactions were likely aimed at guiding humanity subtly without violating collective free will, perhaps offering gentle nudges or technological insights that humanity could then discover or develop on its own terms. The source is very clear on this boundary. These were isolated, discrete encounters, often kept hidden from public knowledge precisely to avoid disrupting humanity's natural evolutionary path and its free will.
Right, so individual connections are possible right now. The source says you can connect, and even depending on the conditions and the environment of the place, make contact, but it is individual, it is punctual. This emphasizes personal spiritual connection, maybe even direct encounters for some, but they are clearly not this grand universal contact event.
Exactly. And that highlights that while individual spiritual connections, maybe meditations, channeling, or even physical encounters are possible for those who are energetically aligned and in specific conditions, these remain isolated and personal experiences. They are not intended to, nor do they, according to this source, affect a global collective shift on their own. The great mass contact with all humanity is explicitly reserved for after the solar flash and after the revelation. It really reinforces the idea of the flash as this definitive turning point, this cosmic prerequisite that shifts the entire species to a new level of readiness. It's presented as the bridge from individual encounters to a species-wide interaction. And it's totally contingent on that specific vibrational and conscious shift that makes universal acceptance possible, even welcomed.
So piecing it all together, what does this mean? It sounds like there's this critical difference between the subtle individual connections maybe happening now and this huge universal contact they're preparing for. It's almost like a global invitation, can only be sent once the planet is ready to RSVP. Does that track? The solar flash then is like the cosmic mechanism that enables that collective yes.
That analogy of the planet RSVPing is actually very apt, I think. It really emphasizes the shift from individual spiritual breakthroughs, which are happening, to a species-wide conscious evolution. That's the goal. The solar flash is portrayed as the ultimate unlock mechanism, transforming humanity's collective state to one where true mass contact becomes viable and, crucially, fully aligned with the principle of free will. Without that global conscious shift, mass contact would likely be seen as interference, right? A violation of humanity's sovereignty. But once the veils are removed, and collective consciousness opens up to this Christic state, this heart-centered awareness, then the invitation for direct, widespread interaction can be genuinely extended and accepted. It's not just about what they can do for us, but what we collectively become capable of receiving and, importantly, co-creating with them.
That's a profound thought. Our collective readiness isn't just like a nice-to-have outcome, but an absolute prerequisite for this whole thing. Now, let's shift gears slightly, but it's deeply connected. Let's talk about this truly crucial aspect. The reevaluation of the human ego. The source presents understanding the ego correctly as a non-negotiable prerequisite for this new reality. It starts by defining the old reality and its consciousness of separation. And in this old reality, the term ego is generally applied to dysfunctional personality traits, right? Like being controlling, unpleasant, or throwing tantrums. It's the part of us we often hear in spiritual circles needs to be killed or transcended or gotten rid of.
Indeed. And these negative attributes, the control issues, the unpleasantness, the tantrums, are explicitly said to arise from the old reality of the consciousness of separation. That's the root. The source explains that humanity has spent literally thousands of years exploring the effects of separation. This isn't just some philosophical concept. It's presented as the root cause of widespread societal and personal problems. This separation manifests in countless ways. Separation from other people, which leads to conflict, isolation, war, separation from other states of consciousness, limiting our perception of what's real, and crucially, separation from the inner spiritual source, which is framed as our divine connection to the whole, to the creator. This fundamental disconnect, according to the source, is the wellspring of pretty much all our perceived problems as a species.
And this consciousness of separation, the source argues, it instills these deep fears. Specifically, fears that there will not be enough love, land, or resources. It's that primal, deep-seated fear of scarcity, isn't it? That seems to drive so much of our competitive and often destructive behavior. And of course, from these fears arise what the source calls the negative behaviors: envy, greed, and aggression. These aren't just seen as individual character flaws, they're direct symptoms of this core fear of not enough.
Absolutely. The source paints a stark picture here. The ego, when it's operating from this fear-based scarcity mindset, drives behaviors that lead to thousands of years of terrifying consequences. That's a direct quote. Just think of the endless wars, the environmental destruction, the social inequalities, all, in this specific view, stemming from the core belief that there isn't enough to go around, which leads to this desperate, often violent struggle for limited resources, whether physical or emotional. This pervasive anxiety and its destructive outcomes have, according to the source, brought humanity to a kind of breaking point. We are now, finally, ready to move into the healing phase of existence on Earth. This isn't presented as just wishful thinking, it's framed as a natural evolutionary step, like we've reached a point of exhaustion with the old patterns, compelling us towards a fundamental shift in our operating system.
Okay, so there's an inherent readiness building within the collective human psyche to move beyond these old destructive patterns. We're tired of them. And this brings us directly to the new reality that the source envisions. It states that this new reality emerging brings with it a heart-centered consciousness. That sounds like a profound and maybe immediate shift from the fear-based, scarcity-driven consciousness of the old reality.
It is indeed presented as a profound shift. The defining characteristic of this new consciousness is integration, not separation. That's the key difference. The source predicts that in the coming decades and centuries, humanity is expected to find ways to resolve differences and issues of separation in ways inspired by unconditional love and compassion. This isn't just a vague ideal, it's presented as a practical evolutionary trajectory for us. The core insight here is that this new consciousness fundamentally shifts our approach to conflict and difference. Instead of reacting from fear or scarcity, the new reality encourages responses rooted in abundance, connection, and understanding. The source powerfully contrasts negative action, which can generate more of it, like attracts like, and is based on the illusion of scarcity, with love, which generates love, and being based on a very real component of creation holds real power. This suggests a complete reorientation, moving from destructive, zero-sum behaviors to creative, infinite-sum ones. Love isn't just portrayed as a passive feeling, it's an active, creative force for resolution and building the new.
It sounds like a massive spiritual course correction for humanity, shifting our foundational operating system from fear to love, essentially. And the source, wow, it doesn't pull any punches when it critiques what it sees as common misinterpretations of the ego in some spiritual teachings today. It draws this really stark parallel between historical control mechanisms and modern ones. It notes that in the old reality, priests strove to control their congregations by rebuking them with accusations that they were useless sinners. That's a strong statement.
It is a strong statement, and it's a powerful, really insightful critique leveled by the source. It deserves attention. It suggests that control, in many forms, has been this pervasive theme in human history, often cleverly cloaked in moral or spiritual justifications. The source argues that, similarly, today, some self-professed spiritual masters rebuke their audiences with accusations that they have ego problems, even asserting that having any ego is bad, bad, bad. Now, this is a significant challenge to a very popular narrative within certain modern spiritual circles that advocates for the complete eradication or suppression of the ego. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, this critique suggests that any teaching, even if well-intentioned, any teaching that ultimately disempowers someone or instills self-doubt, even if it's done in the name of spirituality or enlightenment, actually echoes those old patterns of control rather than fostering genuine integration and self-empowerment. The source argues that such disempowering messages lead even gentle souls with wonderful hearts to doubt themselves, allowing what it calls the worm of control to infiltrate their minds. And this worm of control isn't necessarily an external force. It's that insidious internal self-criticism and self-rejection born from the belief that a fundamental part of who you are is inherently flawed or bad.
That's a crucial point, and a potent warning, really, against spiritual teachings that might inadvertently lead to self-condemnation instead of liberation. Highlights how important discernment is, and this leads directly to the source's articulation of the true, essential nature of the ego in this coming new reality. It states that the new reality is not about power over anyone. It is about self-empowerment and about power with everyone, not against them. That completely flips the script on traditional power dynamics, moving from hierarchy and dominance to collaboration and shared power.
This is truly the core, the transformative insight of the Velocidade do Amor message when it comes to the ego. It's radical in a way. Crucially, the source proclaims that the ego of a spiritualized person is not a problem. It is an essential part of the human system created expressly by the creator of all life. This completely reframes the ego, shifting it from something problematic, something to be eradicated, to something divinely intended and profoundly necessary for our experience. Its purpose, the source explains, is to allow the creator, which it calls the infinite being, to experience self-consciousness from an infinite number of viewpoints. This elevates the ego's role dramatically. It's not just a psychological construct anymore. It's presented as having a cosmic, even divine function, making each individual, each unique ego identity a vital conduit for divine experience.
So the infinite being is introduced as the comprehensive consciousness from which the universe was created. And everything in the universe is made of consciousness. Which means our individual consciousness, our unique ego, isn't just a fragment to be discarded, but a direct and essential expression of this infinite being. It highlights that just as each snowflake is unique, every single person is too, with their own specific, irreplaceable perspective and value.
Precisely. And therefore, our main purpose in life is to experience it from an individual and unique point of view. That's what we're here for, according to this. This really empowers the individual, doesn't it? It suggests that your unique perspective, your particular way of perceiving and interacting with reality, it isn't a flaw to be overcome. It is your fundamental reason for being here, your gift to the universe, in a sense. The source firmly states that the ego cannot be cut out or discarded and forgotten. It is your essential sense of identity. It's not some superficial layer that can just be peeled away. It's presented as intrinsic to the very fabric of who you are, as a unique expression of the Creator. To try and eliminate it would be to deny a fundamental part of your divine design, your purpose.
Wow. It even goes so far as to say that even if one could somehow discard it, a time would come when they would have to retrieve that lost part and integrate it back into themselves in a healthy and holistic way. End quote. Which implies that bypassing or denying the ego is ultimately a futile path. It's an incomplete path to spiritual wholeness. It's all about integration, not elimination. That's such a powerful counter-narrative to a lot of what you hear in modern spirituality, isn't it?
It really is, and it's a crucial insight, I think, for anyone on a spiritual path grappling with this question of ego. The core message here is about wholeness, achieving true wholeness, attempting to sever a part of yourself, even a part that has caused problems when operating from the old reality, fear-based consciousness, is simply delaying the inevitable and arguably more rewarding work of integration and healing. The ultimate message is this incredibly powerful affirmation. You are an expression of the infinite being as it experiences itself from all possible points of view. This isn't about becoming no one or dissolving into nothingness. It's about fully embracing the unique someone you are divinely created to be. And the best way to serve yourself and the infinite being, according to this source, is to live life according to your own personal and highest potential. This links individual flourishing, becoming your best self, directly to a cosmic purpose. It makes self-actualization a deeply spiritual act. And it ends with this truly beautiful and empowering statement that serves as a profound takeaway. Do not forget to celebrate who you are, because there is no one exactly like you in the entire universe. It's a powerful call for radical self-acceptance and self-love as a fundamental act of spiritual alignment and service.
Okay, let's try and unpack this, bring it all together. When we look at all these pieces, the impending solar flash, the promise of mass contact, and this really radical redefinition and integration of our own ego, it becomes crystal clear that it's not just about sitting back and waiting for something to happen to us, is it? It's profoundly about what needs to happen within us, within humanity, for the mass contact in the new Earth to truly manifest. This whole journey from the cosmic event to galactic contact seems utterly dependent on our internal evolution, especially our relationship with our own individuality, our own ego.
That's absolutely the transformative nugget, the core message of this entire narrative, I think. The source explicitly states that this whole message is not just about extraterrestrials or solar flash, but about the spiritual responsibility of those who have already awakened. That fundamentally shifts the burden, doesn't it? The burden of preparedness. It flips the script entirely from waiting to be saved by benevolent ETs or angels to actively co-creating a new reality through our own dedicated internal work. And this isn't just presented as theory. It implies a direct call to active participation and profound internal work for any listeners who resonate with this message. It puts the onus squarely on us, collectively, or at least on the awakened part of us, as the primary drivers of this massive transition.
Right. So for the awakened, what does this spiritual responsibility actually entail, according to the source? Is it about going out and doing specific things, external actions, or is it more about a deeper internal alignment that then kind of radiates outward?
Yep. It seems overwhelmingly about the internal alignment and the vibration, the frequency that generates. The core message regarding preparedness is very clear. Mass contact will only occur when there is inner unity among incarnated beings of light. Now, this inner unity isn't portrayed as everyone thinking the exact same thing, like some kind of hive mind. Not at all. It's about transcending that illusion of separation at a fundamental energetic level. It's about genuinely recognizing our inherent interconnectedness, fostering compassion, and operating consistently from a heart-centered consciousness. And this inner unity, crucially, is directly linked back to the ego. The function of the ego needs to be understood and integrated, not fought. So it's about embracing our unique individuality within the larger context of universal oneness, finding harmony between the two.
Okay, so it's not about erasing the ego to achieve unity, but actually integrating it, embracing its unique purpose that then allows for true inner unity. That's a paradox, almost. And it's through this dual process, internal unity and healthy ego integration, that humanity can create the necessary frequency for the new Earth. This concept of frequency seems absolutely vital here, doesn't it? What does it really mean for consciousness to be a frequency in this context? How literal is that?
That's a truly profound point, and it's honestly one of the most compelling aspects of this whole narrative. If we connect this to the bigger picture, it suggests that consciousness itself isn't just thought or feeling, it's a form of energy, a measurable vibration or frequency. Our collective internal state, particularly how we understand and integrate our individuality, our ego, directly influences this overall planetary frequency. Think of it like tuning a radio. If Earth's collective consciousness is primarily emitting a frequency of fear and separation, it's simply out of tune, out of sync with the unity and love frequency that these galactic entities supposedly operate on. The new Earth, in this view, isn't just a physical place we build, it's fundamentally a higher vibrational state of being, a higher frequency reality. So when humanity achieves inner unity and integrates its ego in a healthy, celebrated way, it literally raises the collective planetary frequency, creating an energetic compatibility or resonance that makes mass contact possible and aligns Earth with this new reality. It's a truly profound concept. Our internal state literally dictates our external reality and even our potential cosmic interactions.
That's a really powerful idea. Our internal state creating a vibrational frequency that quite literally allows these massive cosmic events to occur and for a whole new reality to unfold. Mind-blowing, really. And the source doesn't just leave us hanging with theory, it concludes with this powerful statement of immediacy. The time of waiting is over. The moment to act with awareness has arrived. This feels like a direct imperative, a call to action for the listener to embody these principles, not just think about them or passively observe.
It's absolutely a clear call to action, yeah. Asking listeners to not just understand these concepts intellectually, but to internalize them, apply them, live them in their own lives. The narrator, the source video, even directly addresses the listener, suggesting that by watching the video, you feel deep down that you are also ready for contact. Which is a powerful affirmation, isn't it? Affirming the listener's own intuition and readiness, inviting them to recognize their internal resonance with this profound message.
Yeah, it is. And it even includes that specific call to action from the source, asking you, the listener, to write in the comments, "Eu sou a mudança," which is Portuguese for "I am the change." This is meant to be a way to signal your alignment with this mission and make an active commitment, even if just symbolically online. And interestingly, the source also includes these practical appeals for supporting the channel. The usual liking, subscribing, sharing. And it even mentions a stellar fashion brand called iSpirit as a way for listeners to kind of embody cosmic wisdom and also support the channel's mission financially. These are practical ways for the message to be spread and sustained, coming directly from the source itself.
It definitely connects the very abstract spiritual concepts to tangible actions, both digital and physical, allowing listeners to express their engagement and their support for the larger movement that Velocidade, Amor seems to be describing or fostering. It's kind of a fusion of this grand cosmic vision and very practical, very modern ways of building a community and spreading a specific message.
So we've taken a really deep dive today into this profound vision of cosmic transformation, exploring the crucial roles of a pending solar flash, the potential promise of mass contact, and this essential, maybe radical redefinition of our own ego. It's definitely a journey that challenges our standard perceptions of reality and, maybe more importantly, our place within it, suggesting a far more active role for humanity than we usually think.
The sources from Velocidade Amor really do offer a comprehensive narrative, don't they? From humanity's current state of perceived separation and fear, all the way to a potential future of integration, unity, and direct cosmic cooperation. And it's a future hinged upon this dramatic shift in global consciousness, triggered by the solar flash, but fundamentally underpinned by a radical re-understanding and integration of the individual ego. It really lays out a very specific, almost instructional guide for how this entire planetary and cosmic transition is perceived to occur from their viewpoint.
So, thinking about all this, what does it all mean for you listening right now? The sources we've explored today really challenge us to consider the profound connection between our individual internal landscape, our thoughts, fears, love, our sense of self, and these vast cosmic events. If the collective human consciousness, particularly how we understand and integrate our individual identities, our ego, is indeed the key, the actual key, to unlocking a new era of planetary existence and even extraterrestrial contact. What might this imply about the true power and maybe the profound responsibility each of us holds in shaping our collective future? And perhaps, what might that fully integrated ego, that celebrated unique self, be capable of achieving not just for itself, but for the entire planetary evolution?
It truly shifts the focus, doesn't it? From looking for external salvation or waiting for external events alone, to recognizing that internal transformation is where the real power lies, suggesting that the most powerful changes really do begin within ourselves. It implies that our individual journeys of self-understanding, healing, and ego integration were not just personal quests for happiness or enlightenment. They might actually have profound planetary and even cosmic implications. It's a truly compelling thought for anyone seeking to understand their true role in a world that feels like it's changing so rapidly, suggesting that maybe the most revolutionary act any of us can take is simply to authentically be ourselves, fully integrated, fully aware, and fully celebrated.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We hope this exploration has given you some new insights, maybe sparked some aha moments to consider. Remember, there's always more to learn, more layers to peel back, and we'll be here to help you unpack it.